Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the Sedra of Bemidbar, the first Sedra in the fourth book of the Torah, the book of Numbers. And we are dedicating our learning to the safety and success of all of the soldiers in the IDF and the US Armed Forces. And unfortunately, the news shows us that the danger is not past, the evil has not been defeated. And we pray that, please God, we should be successful speedily and restore peace and light to all parts of the world, and especially on our borders in the land of Israel. And we are also dedicating our learning to the complete healing of all of the wounded and the refuah sheleima of Rivka Yittel bas Rochel. And as we contemplate reading this opening Sedra of the book of Bamidbar, and really this book is, although it's called literally translated in the wilderness, and we'll come on to the specific relevance of being in the wilderness as we prepare for Shavuot. This is invariably read the Shabbos before Shavuos, and we contemplate that connection, but also reflecting on two very special days. We have on Friday, the 28th of Iyar, Yom Yerushalayim, and on Sunday we have Rosh Chodesh, Sivan, as we really get into gear before the upcoming festival of Shavuot, and reflecting how the President of the United States, President Trump, has exceptionally, and this is a never before situation, he has called for all Jewish people in America to observe this Shabbos from sundown until dark, 25 hours period. English dates May the 15th and 16th, that everybody should observe this Shabbos as a sign of the high esteem on the 250th anniversary of the foundation, the Declaration of the United States as a sovereign nation, and to recognize the incredible contribution of the Jewish nation to this unique country, and really to reflect how that sometimes an outsider will give us greater clarity than we might have ourselves, and really appreciate the historic significance of this declaration. And really, as we are coming up to Matan Torah and the receiving of the Torah, and Shabbos, one of the Aseres Hadibros, Zachar es Yom HaShabbos Lekadsho, and we have that enshrined in the Aseres Hadibros, and really to have this declaration and this call for all Jewish people to observe the Shabbos, that is something that we have to absorb on so many levels. But just again, looking at the fact that we have the connection between the Sedra of Bamidbar and Shavuos, and in order to achieve that, sometimes certain Sedras will be read together because it is considered such an important connection. And on the face of it, if we look at the contents of the actual Sedra of Bamidbar that we will be reading, it focuses on the details of the encampment. We can see these very, very specific instructions that show us how the Jewish people in the wilderness were supposed to arrange themselves, lest we think that a wilderness is a place that you'll just amble about in and you will easily get lost because there are not going to be any significant landmarks. We see the order of the encampment. We see how really this is the entire book, with all of its twists and turns, is an example of what happens to us in the course of our lives. And if we look at all the other three books, and it could be said that actually Bamidbar is the last book of the Torah, because in Devarim, which is the fifth book, we really have the resume, the summary of Moshe Rabbeinu and his final address to the Jewish people. So the actual sort of the four books before that are the contents of the Torah. So we have in Bereshis the establishment of the family of the patriarchs. In Shemos, we become a nation. We go into the land of Egypt. We leave the land of Egypt. We receive the Torah in the Sedra of Yisro. In Vayikra, we are all called to be a holy nation and a kingdom of priests, yet we also see the specific laws that apply to the priests. And really, this book of Bamidbar shows us that during the course of our lives, we will encounter challenges. There will be moments of calm, of serenity. There will be moments of challenge. And it's invariably how we rise to those challenges and how we continue and retain our focus during the times when we're not being challenged, retain our focus and retain our direction in all areas of life. So the rabbis tried so hard to find this connection between the Sedra, the book of Bamidbar, and the festival of Shavuos, the receiving of the Torah. And we could suggest many reasons. For example, the fact that it's given in an empty, ownerless, shall we say, place, as opposed to Yerushalayim. It is really something that is going to be relevant and on some levels applicable to all of humanity. Anybody who wants to come and take from the wisdom doesn't have to feel that it is necessarily something that they can't have access to, and so this could be a very persuasive reason. And it is a place of silence, it's a place of no distractions. But of all of those reasons, we see that the rabbis actually find an interesting, we see this in Bamidbar Rabbah, and they say, God spoke to Moses in the Sinai wilderness. And why was the Torah given through three things? These three things were fire, water, and wilderness. Just as fire, water, and wilderness are free to all the inhabitants of the world, so too are the words of the Torah free to them. As it says in Yeshaya chapter 55, verse 1, "O all who are thirsty, come for water, even if you have no money." And so, strangely, on the face of it, it is the fact that it is free, that it is accessible to everybody, that is the primary reason why the Torah was given in the wilderness. And if we pause to reflect, we can see how, as we look through the course of our history, that this was absolutely groundbreaking, that it was generally, especially in the ancient world, that the privileged few had access to education, had access to power, and the rest of the population were subjugated in this way. Yet we see from the fact that the entire Jewish nation, this is absolutely unique, that an entire people were part of a revelation, as opposed to a revelation to one prophet who then transmitted it to either a group or to the rest of the people. But in the case of receiving the Torah, the Jewish people receiving the Torah, Bamidbar, in the wilderness at Har Sinai, this is something that is established for all times. And we can see that there are two key moments that in our history where this is, as it were, applied. And the first is in the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, after the Babylonian expulsion and the return of the Jewish people. And this is recorded in Nehemiah chapter 8. And this, Ezra and Nehemiah together, started the first mass adult education program. And they realized that the great battles of the Jewish people were not going to necessarily be fought with weapons on the battlefield. It's going to be the battles for hearts and minds. And the way to succeed, the way to transmit, is through education. So this was something that we see at the time applied first in the wilderness of Sinai, Mount Sinai, but then later on in our history. And then if we look at the and this is recorded in Baba Basra, the first century, the first system of universal compulsory education, and this is recorded in the Gemara in Baba Basra in the Talmud. And just to read from there, truly the name of that man is to be blessed, namely Yehoshua ben Gamla. For but for him the Torah would have been forgotten from Israel. For at first, if a child had a father, his father taught him, and if he had no father, he did not learn at all. And then it carries on that Yehoshua ben Gamla made sure that even from a very young age, eventually Yehoshua ben Gamla came and ordained that teachers of young children should be appointed in each district and each town, and that children should enter school at 6 or 7. Now, if we think that universal compulsory education did not exist in England until 1870, we have here about 2,000 years ago how, based on this idea that an entire nation assembled to receive the Torah, that this was going to be applied and this was going to be the right and the responsibility of everyone. And this we see also in the Mishnah Torah of the Rambam, and this expresses it so beautifully. With 3 crowns was Israel crowned: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of kingship. The crown of priesthood was conferred on Aaron. The crown of kingship was conferred on David. But the crown of Torah is for all Israel. Whoever desires it, let him come and take it. And these words that were in practice shown to apply as we receive the Torah in the wilderness. Let these words come and bring the application of all of this education, of all of this universal, groundbreaking phenomenon that we witness and that we live unto this very day. And please God, may we be worthy yet again to receive the Torah this coming Shavuot with the preparation that we will have on the Shabbos before. Thank you very much for listening and wishing everybody Shabbat Shalom.